Namaste dosto. Welcome to my YouTube channel called IVD Manufacturing. So today we'll be discussing on a topic called Annex-2, which is the essential principle of the safety and performance for in vitro medical devices. In the previous lecture, we have discussed on the Annex-1, which was mainly for the medical devices other than the IVD. So let's begin today's lecture. So my friends, you first of all you need to publish or states the full information, which is the device name, UDI, device configuration, and the device brief description. So when you see the requirement, which is the general requirement and the design requirement, so those two requirements is much more similar to the medical device requirement. So in the general requirement, it mainly speaks about the intended use of the devices, that whenever the patient is going to use the devices, it should not impact the patient or the end user from the safety and from the performance point of view. So I'm not going to go in point number 1. Point number 2 mainly speaks about the risk requirements. 3 also speaks about the risk requirement as per the risk management file or the RMP as per the ISO 14971. 4 also speaks about the risk requirements. I'm not going to go into the detail because I've already told you in detail in my previous lecture, which was Annex-1 on the medical devices other than the IVD. Point number 5 is also related to the risk. 6 followed by the characteristic part. 7 talk about the packaging of the devices from the safety and performance point of view. Point number 8 speaks about the forcible risk. Now, from point number 9, it is mainly going to speak about the functionality of the in vitro diagnostic devices. So requirements regarding the performance, design and the manufacture. So we are going to talk about the 3 aspects. So let's talk about the point number 9, which is the performance characteristics. So the devices shall be designed and manufactured in such a way that they are suitable for the purposes referred to the IVD definition as specified by the manufacturer and suitable with regard to the performance they are intended to achieve. So the IVD should achieve the performance as stated by the manufacturer in terms of the following parameters. The first one is the analytical performance, such as the analytical sensitivity, analytical specificity, trueness, precision, accuracy, measuring range, linearity, cutoff, including determination of the appropriate criteria for the specimen collection, handling, and control of non-relevant endogenous and exogenous interference in the cross-section. So my friends, whenever you talk about as to how to assess the performance of an IVD, you should keep in mind as a design guide that you need to evaluate this following parameter to claim a particular performance on the IVD kits. The moment you do the analytical evaluation or the analytical performance, now it's time comes to check the clinical performances. So in the clinical performances, the following parameter needs to be checked, such as the diagnostic sensitivity, diagnostic specificity, positive predicate value, negative predicate value, likelihood ratio, expected value in the normal and the affected population. Point 9.2. The performance characteristic of the devices shall be maintained during the lifetime of the devices as intended by the manufacturer. Point number 9.3 speaks about the performance of those IVD which uses a kind of calibrators, okay, where the performance of device mainly depends upon the calibrator or the control material, such as a positive control or the negative control, especially in the case of the amplification test kit, which is the RT-PCR. The metrological traceability of the value assigned to the calibrator or the controller shall be assured through a suitable reference measurement procedure. So there should be a proper defined procedure in order to evaluate the calibrator or the controls, and this should get evaluated by using a certified reference material or the reference measurement procedure. So I hope this is understandable now. So point number 9 was mainly related to the performance characteristic of an IVD, where we are speaking about the analytical performance and the clinical performances. Now point number 10 mainly speaks about the chemical, psychological and the biological property of an IVD. So this is much more similar to the substances involved in designing IVD, which was split in the previous lecture, which was Annex 1. on the medical devices other than the IVD. So I'm not going to go into the detail, right? So you can go through this point number 10. Contamination also you can go through it, like point number 11. Nothing as such stringent requirement over there. So I'll be moving on the labeling part. Okay. So now this point number 20 speaks about the requirement regarding the information supplied with the devices. Point number 20 is the label and the instruction for the use. So what are those information which needs to be displayed by the manufacturer on their IVD kit in the IFU specifically? So if the manufacturer has a website, be made a link date on the website, take into the account of the following: the medium format, content legibility, location of label, instruction for the use, and the intended purpose, technology. All this should be addressed properly. So I'm not going to go in detail because it's a very basic rather. Okay, I'm just giving an overview of the annexures now. The information required in the label shall be provided on the device itself. If this is not practicable or appropriate, some or all the information may be appear on the packaging. This label should be easily readable in a human readable format, right? Then the abbreviation should be there in the IFU, right? Device, how the devices shall be used, whether from the self-testing point of view or the near patient test, it should be defined. Whether devices is intended only for the professional users only or for the instruction for the use should be specified. The residual risk should also be mentioned, like from the precaution and safety point of view. So all those are the basic things which should be there in the IFU. And there are few certain information which must be there, such as the name or trade name of the devices, the name, the registered trade name or the registered trademark for the manufacturer. So these are the basic things which you should keep in your mind whenever you design the label for the SFDA registration purpose, right? So I'm not going to go much more deep into it because you know how to design the IFU. So if you want to understand like how to draft the IFU, I will give you the link in my description below where I have published this actually long back ago as to how to draft IFU, right? So please go through it and understand the requirement in designing the IFU, which is much more in sync with the WHO TGS requirement, technical general series requirement. So now let's talk about the clinical evaluation and clinical performances. As I told you earlier, like the clinical performance should get evaluated on the basis of the clinical data. So it is the same thing, and then the report should be published. So I hope you must have enjoyed my today's lecture. Please do like, comment, subscribe and share my channel in your network and help me in growing as fast as possible. Till then, take care. Bye bye.